Hello guys, I'm RJ, and today I will show and explain to you our activity in Laboratory 3 in Prelim. Let's start. We start in online shopping cart. In the first part, gathering the product information. Here we start by asking the user for the name of the first product. The name is stored as a string in the variable p1. Here. And then next, we ask the for for we ask the price. So we use the f string inside the input function, which let us display the product name the user just entered, making the prompt dynamic and clear. So we wrap the input in float function because the prices often have decimal points, meaning we need to store them as floating point numbers. And then in this part, line of code, the Q1, we asked for the quantity. Since quantity is a whole number, we use integer function to convert the input into an integer. And the next 6 lines, here. Repeat the same process for the second and third products, creating the variables for P2, UP2, Q2, P3, UP3, and Q3. So we make sure to use float for the units price and integer function for the quantities for consistency and accurate calculations. So next is the calculating subtotals. Here we perform the first set of calculation. For each product, we multiply its unit price by its quantity to get the subtotal. So this is simple arithmetic multiplication, and the results are stored in result 1, 2, and result 3. Here. Example this, the unit price 1 times the quantity 1. And the last part is the printing card summary. In this part, this is where the magic of f string and the string formatting shines. So we are printing a summary line for product 1. Right, so notice the point 2f inside the curly braces after the price and the result is a formal specifier that tells Python so display this floating point number, which exactly the 2 decimal number or 2 decimal places, which is essential for currency formatting. That's and this. So the next 2 following lines simply repeat this formatted printing process for product 2 and the product 3. Last, the calculating and printing the final total. Here. In this line of code, finally we calculate the grand total. So we add 3 subtotals here together and store the value in the total variable. So here, the result 1 plus result 2 and the result 3. And then in this last line of code, we print the final line again using the f string and the point2f format specifier to ensure the grand total is displayed neatly with the 2 decimal places, completing our shopping cart summary. Let's try for this online shopping cart code. The first product is, let's say, laptop. Enter the price of laptop, let's say 20,000. Sorry, 20,000. And then the quantity of laptop is, let's say, 1. The second product is smartphone. Enter the price of smartphone, let's say 10,000. 2. Let's say the quantity of smartphone is 2. And the third product is, let's say, tablet. The price of tablet is 15,000. and the quantity is 3. Excuse me. So here is the final or the card summary. So the quantity of the laptop is 1 and it costs 20,000 and the final RC 20,000. Next is smartphone. The quantity of smartphone is 2. Then the price of the smartphone per each is 10,000. So 10,000 times 2 is 20,000. And last, the tablets. The tablet, the quantity of tablet is 3 and per unit price is 15,000. So total of 45,000. So the total of 20,000, 20,000 and 45,000 is 85,000. So that is the total of all the cart. So next part or next uh, activity is salary calculator. So here in the salary calculator, the first part is gathering input. So in this code line, we start by asking the user for the employee's name. So this input is stored as a string and the variable employee name. And the next is we get the employee basic month salary. Since salaries often involve decimal amounts, we use float function to store this value as a floating point number. And last is the overtime hours. So here in this line of code, we ask for the numbers of overtime hours. Since hours work are typically whole numbers, we use integer function to store this value as an integer. So the next part is setting constants. So here's the constants. In this line, define our constant. We set a fixed overtime rate of 150 or 150 pesos per hour and a fixed tax rate of 0.12 or 12%. So using variable for this makes the code easy to update if the rates change later. So the next part is the performing calculation. So here in this code line or line of code, the first calculation is the overtime pay. So we multiply the fixed overtime rate by the overtime hours entered by the user. The second calculation is the gross salary. Excuse me. So the gross salary is total earnings before any deduction. So we simply add the basic salary and overtime pay. Next is the tax. Alright. So in this third calculation, the tax is calculated by multiplying the gross salary by the tax rate of 0.12, which is this. And last is the net salary. So the net salary is the employee take home pay. So we subtract the calculated tax from the gross salary. Right? And last part is the printing the salary slip output. So here. So this line, So this line prints the simple text and integers float variables without special formatting. Sorry, this line. And then for all man-related values, we use f string. So here, f string, f string, f string. And the format specifier is 0.2f. This ensures the output is displayed as a currency with exactly 2 decimal places, even if the number is a whole dollar amount. So last in this part, so even the tax rate, which is 0.12, the printed using 0.2f for is clean and consistent output. So let's try this salary calculator. So let's say our employee name is RJ and the basic salary is 10,000. So let's say our overtime hours is 3. So here's the salary slip. So employee name RJ, overtime hours 3. The basic salary is 10,000. So overtime pay is 450. So because the overtime rate is 150, so 3 times 150 is 450. So our gross salary is 10,450. So the tax rate is 0.12. So deduction is the net salary is 9,196 pesos. Alright, that's all for salary calculator. And next is the student information system. So in this student information system, first part is the gathering student identification. So here, we start by gathering student identification data. Both student ID and the full name are collected using the input function and stored as a string. Next is gathering the grades. So we collect the 3 grades since grades can often include decimal points like 85.5 or 92.0. So we wrap the input in float function. Also ensure they are stored in a floating point numbers. So finally, we collect the section name, which is stored as a string, right, in this section. There. And then next part is the performing calculation. So in this code of line, we perform the first calculation, finding the total score, right? So we simply add these 3 grade variables together here. And then next calculation is find the average grade. So we take the total and divide it by the counts of grade, which is the 3. So here. So last is the generating the section report output, which is here. So in this code line here, I highlight first. This line is use f-string so neatly to display the identification data, which is the ID, full name, and section. And then in this code line, this line prints all the 3 grades. So we use this format specifier, which is .1f inside the f-string. This tells Python to display each grade with exactly 1 decimal place, ensuring a clean standardized look for all grades. And lastly, finally, we display the calculated average, also using the .1f format specifier to keep the report neat and consistent. So let's try the student information system. So let's say 123, the student ID, or 123, yeah, rather. And then the name is RJ again. Then the first grade is 95, the second grade is 90, and the third grade is 93. So the section is, let's say, BSIT 3Y1-2. So here's the section report. So the ID, which is the 123, the full name is RJ. Basically, this is not a full name, it's also a first name, but this is testing. Then the section is BSIT 3-Y1-2. So we input the grades is 95.0, 90.0, and 93.0. So the total average is 92.7. So that's all for the laboratory activity 3 in Prelim. So thank you for watching and see you in next video.